The Scottish Government is to mount a legal challenge to Westminster's decision to block its controversial gender recognition reforms. Holyrood's proposed legislation simplifies and speeds up the process for trans people to legally change their gender. The UK government says the reforms could affect the Equality Act and protection of women. Well, our Scotland editor James Cook takes a look at the issue.
And the Gender Recognition Reform Scotland Bill is passed.
Days before Christmas, a moment of joy for trans rights campaigners, hailing a law which would remove legal and medical hurdles to changing sex on a birth certificate and reduce the age limit to do so from 18 to 16. But their celebrations were short-lived.
Today, I will make an order under Section 35 of the Scotland Act 1998, preventing the Gender Recognition Reform Scotland Bill from proceeding to royal assent.
In other words, Westminster was overruling Holyrood on the basis that the new Scottish law would adversely affect British legislation. And now the Scottish Government is challenging that decision in court.
The Parliament has now spoken. We were willing to work with the UK government after this bill was passed. They've refused to do so. Now, even if people disagree with the bill, I would hope they would agree with the fact that we need to have a strong Scottish Parliament and a Scottish government and a First Minister willing to stand up for that Parliament.
The news was welcomed by this campaigner.
The most important thing for us is that we want this bill to become law. We want trans men and women who are applying to update the sex on their birth certificate to be able to go through a much fairer and simpler process than they can at the moment, and that's used in many countries all around the world.
But campaigners against the bill say its effects would be absurd.
Simply put, there can't be one definition of sex on one side of the border and another on the other side. When we have measures in law to protect people on that basis, it makes a mockery of the whole Equality Act.
And the UK government says it will robustly defend its position.
It was a decision that we made after taking very careful and considered advice, and we had concerns, as the UK Government Secretary of State set this out at the time, concerns about how Scotland's Gender Recognition Act would interact with reserve powers, about the operation of the Equalities Act, the protection of women elsewhere in the UK as well, and that's why we took the decision to block the GRR. And obviously, if there's a court process, we will follow that through.
This is Humza Yousaf's first big battle with the UK government as First Minister of Scotland, but his choice of topic makes it an especially risky strategy, because on the issue of gender, it's not just the nation which is divided, but the SNP too. James Cook, BBC News, Edinburgh.